Alright everybody, part 8 of the video series. What we're going to do now is we've got a lot of rust and grime on this motor. If you focus down here, you see I got a lot of rust around this pulley. We're going to use a special compound. It's phosphoric acid. It's going to help neutralize the iron oxide, also known as rust, on this motor. I'm going to spin this around a little bit. We're going to get it prepped because really I want to get this thing degreased as soon as possible. We talked about a little bit earlier down here with the starter. Since we are going to start degreasing everything, we'll get the starter removed. That's going to be 2 bolts. And also, since we're going to be degreasing, let's try to seal up some of these parts here we don't want degreaser going into. So this part right here, that's not too bad if we get degreaser on it. And the other piece you want to make sure is down here. This is where your fuel comes into. I put a vacuum cap on it, and I got these off of Amazon. They come in their rubber vacuum cap assortments. They come in a variety of different sizes. It's only a few bucks. Pretty handy. Anyway, I've got this on here to keep the fuel from getting contaminated in there. So that is that. So first things first, let's go ahead and get the starter removed and we'll continue from there. Alright, so you may be thinking let's use a 9/16 down here, but there was a label. It flew off from all the rust. This is actually going to be a metric bolt. So 9/16 is not the way to go with this one. Alright, it actually uses a 13mm. So we'll go ahead and loosen this off. Not enough yet. We'll try it again. And it's still attached via the zip tie on the other side, so it's probably going to still be hanging on here. Alright, get rid of that. Alright, and I will go ahead and take off this zip tie, and we'll be ready to start degreasing here. Okay, so we got everything sealed up pretty good. The only other part I'm going to switch away, this is for like blow by, is I'm going to face this downward so we don't put any degreaser into the motor, but it's just the it's like a blow by too. Alright, next thing, I picked this up from Walmart. It's about $1, almost $2. It's good for degreasing. We're just going to go ahead and hit the motor in general and try to clean this thing up. Just try to hit it, a little bit of everything, because it is in pretty bad shape. Some grease. Alright, and you can see here, pretty much just covering everything we can. Alright, you see plenty of degreaser everywhere. I'm going to allow it to sit for just a little bit, and then likely I'm going to hose it off. But this is a good starting point before I know what's what on this, because this thing was just absolutely filthy. Terrible. Alright, so just hit it with the hose and kind of got the first level grime off of it from probably 1994, and it's looking better already. But I'm going to hit it with one more can all the way around, and then we'll dry it off by hand, and this way we're in better shape here. Alright, coating number 2 in progress. Alright, so you'll see all the water and grime up there. I'm going to go ahead and clean all that out so we don't have any more new rust forming. But this thing already looks really good. You can see our Made in US badge on our alternator. That'll dry out just nice. And everything is looking good. So next steps here are dry everything out, and it'll be that much closer to finish time. So dried off as best we could in there. I checked the carburetor just in case my viewers are curious if water got in the carburetor, and it did not. So that's good. Even if it did a little bit, it's going to take a while for it to dry. But I hand cleaned a lot of little parts here just to make sure we got a lot of the oil off that we could. Alright, so next thing we got here, this is made by Rust-Oleum. It's rust dissolver. They recommend it staying on for about 30 minutes, and it's mainly just phosphoric acid. And depending on what the scenario is, we may have to do up to 2 coats. So there's a few spots where there's rust, like around here. I also found some rust spots where the intake is, and then where the pulleys are. So I've never used this product before, but I saw it, so I'm gonna give it a try and let it sit. There's also some rust down at this pulley here. All right, so the rust dissolver, this is right at about 15 minutes. There's certain spots that I've kind of looked at already, and it made a huge difference. So what I do plan on doing after this does its thing, I'm going to wipe it down like the bottle says, and then I'm going to hit it with a coat of etching primer just so it doesn't rust again in the future. But this is going to conclude the post-engine removal video. I just really wanted this thing to get nice and cleaned up so I could see what kind of parts were needed on this before I put it back in. But everything on this looks pretty darn good. I'm pretty satisfied with how it came out so far. Alright, so as always, I hope you liked the video. Subscribe, like it, leave some comments if you got questions, and you'll see more of this engine as we progress further into the project. Have a good one.